Hello, guys, and welcome to another one of my little videos. And today, I wouldn't really call it an interview, more of a casual chat between friends, because I'm happy to introduce you, Troy.
Hi, how you doing, Harvey?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
So Troy here is actually an old friend of mine, uh, and the way we met, he's actually one of the OG despecialized fans, you could say, and he helped me out when I was starting, and I really didn't have any money. I was a poor student, and he helped me out with some hard drives and helped me pay. And we'll get into that. I think uh, helped me pay for some stuff that I needed for Despecialized when I was starting out. And we started chatting quite regularly, and we became friends. So this really is going to be more of a casual chat. Um,
Okay.
so far, I've mostly done interviews with other YouTubers, and you're actually no exception. So you do have a little YouTube channel, and you talk about your Star Wars collecting.
I do have a small YouTube channel and I do talk about some things, but I wouldn't call myself a YouTuber. I just was trying to vent on things that bugged me
Yeah,
with prop collecting and EFX, and so I ain't posted a video in a long time, and I might start posting more, but I'm not really a YouTuber, if you know what
right.
I mean. Yeah, I'm not a
Right.
content creator, if you would.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean. Like, I probably wouldn't really call myself a YouTuber in the sense that it's definitely not my like main thing. I just
Yeah.
do videos on YouTube sometimes. But so, of course, you're a big Star Wars collector. So later, I wanted to talk about our Star Wars collections. Yours obviously is huge compared to mine, but I wanted to touch on that. But first, let's let's actually reminisce a little bit about how we met. So, do you remember the first time we talked?
Well, let me go back a little bit on
Yeah.
that. Um, the thing, the thing was, I was like everyone else at the time was on originaltrilogy.com and trying to figure out how can I get a quality copy of Star Wars, or will it ever be officially released or anything like that. And I had worked with one guy. I think it's been a long time. His name was Arnie Dicker. Does that ring a bell? Anyway, he did the Project Star Wars V8,
Hmm.
and so he contacted me through messages on originaltrilogy.com, asking me would I be interested in helping him out. He'd send me a copy. And so this was the Japanese special collector's edition. That, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So I have to think back. So it's been a while. So anyway, I got that and I enjoyed that for a while. The picture quality to me was better than some others, but not to me, just not on DVD standard
Hmm.
at that time. So HD was becoming a thing, and I kept hearing all this talk about Empire. I don't know if it was partly despecialized at that time or it was just, I don't remember.
Hmm.
But
Possibly.
everybody was
Yeah.
making,
My first
you know,
release.
but everybody's making this big deal about it. And you were about to release Star Wars.
Hmm.
Now, one thing we have to tell the audience is that you have to realize this is long before PayPal, long before Patreon, long before
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of stuff is made way easier today. You were working on Star Wars and you were posting pictures and stuff like that. And then I was getting really excited. I was like, man, this looks great. So I was able somehow to get somebody to send me a copy of one of your early Star Wars versions. And so the first thing I did was I took it to uh, uh, Best Buy, because at the time I didn't have a big screen TV. I didn't have an HD
Right.
TV. So there's all this talk going on, and I was like, man, let me take this over there and see if I can get to the play a few minutes of it and let me see it. And I was like blown away. I was like, oh my God, I'll never forget sitting in that little chair looking at Despecialized, and just a few scenes, like just a few minutes, and I was like, oh my God, that looks great. And at, so at the time, the thing that impressed me the most was the color. I mean, the color looked more, even though you can't remember that kind of, you don't have that in your memory, it just felt right. You know what I mean? Does that make
Right, yeah.
sense?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like people who claim they remember what a movie looked like in a theater 20, 30, 40 years ago, I think they're full of it. But
Yeah.
you get it's one thing to remember the exact colors, and it's another to remember the feel of the film. So
Yeah.
I suppose that's what I've always been trying to go for, like recreate the
Yeah.
feel of seeing it in a theater, not
Yeah.
like a modern recoloring.
Oh yeah. So I watched that version and I thought, wow, that was, I'm trying to get to the answer this really quickly.
Mhm.
So I watched that version and I thought, wow, there was really nothing or very little
Yeah,
that took me out of the experience, out of the movie, or like,
yeah,
oh, that didn't work too well, or okay. To make a long story short,
right.
I thought, gee, he did a really good job. And wouldn't it be great if he went back and tried to do a little bit better? That was just my thinking, you know. And little did I know that's exactly what your plans were.
Mm.
And I was like, oh man, oh that's gonna be great, you know. And then so you're posting pictures of the next version and all that, and then all of a sudden out of the blue, you're like, hey guys, I got a problem. I don't exactly remember what the post said,
Mm.
but I was like, no. I was like, Vader, no. So I was like, no. So I was like, well, so you're talking about you were a student and all that, and I had at the time I had money. I had money, and uh,
Yeah, I think I
so
had a hard drive crash then, and
yeah,
so
yeah,
I didn't have any more space other than the tiny hard drive on my laptop.
yeah.
Mm.
So I said, you know what? I said, you know what? He's got. I mean, I didn't know you had a lot of followers, and I like, you know what? Let me reach out and see if I can help out, because the way I looked at it, I was the one that's going to benefit from it. You know, that's how I
Right.
felt. I would benefit from this, and one thing that um that was appealing to me at the time was when you said something, you followed through.
Mm.
I don't know if you remember way back when, but a lot of people made projects and they never delivered. You you remember any of that? There was a
Yeah,
lot of projects.
I remember that very well, and I really hope I'm not gonna become one of those people now. I'm really trying to get
Yeah,
this new
there
version
was a
finished.
lot of people making promises and
Yeah,
taking money from people. There were
yeah,
some people,
yeah.
some groups taking money, but never delivered on nothing. Now the ZeroX, do you remember that? Now the audience probably does
Vaguely,
not know what
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
talking about.
yeah, yeah.
They don't know what I'm talking about, but there was a basically what they were doing was taking the high quality laser disc
Oh,
players.
yeah, yeah,
And I don't know if that even made a difference, really. When you think back on it, I don't know if that was. Now we're going way back.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so,
This was probably before the gout, yeah, because they
oh
were
yeah,
still,
oh this is before
yeah,
the gout,
yeah.
definitely, yeah. So, so I reached out to you and I said, hey man, look, if you need whatever you need, you know, if you need a hard drive, I'll get you one,
Hmm.
mail it to you. And I think it was a terabyte at the time, wasn't it? Was it
Yeah,
a terabyte?
it was a 1 terabyte hard drive, and back then that was still quite a big one. So,
Is that still big today? I have no
no, it's
idea.
more. It's not really. Like I just ordered
It's
a
not
20. I just got a 28 terabyte hard drive. Yeah,
28.
and I really need it. Like I already had a 20 terabyte hard drive, was totally full, So
So let me ask you something, Harmy. I'm gonna forget we're recording here, but that's fine.
that's
But
okay.
I'm curious, how, a standard 2 hour movie,
Hmm.
how long does that? How many movies can you put a standard 2 hour movie on a 1 terabyte? How many movies could you put on there?
Well, that really depends on the format and resolution and all that. Like if it's
Right,
1080p and it's like a Blu-ray quality, you can fit
right.
like 100 movies probably on a terabyte
Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
in like a relatively low but HD quality. Uh,
Hmm.
but those and back then I was working in 720p, and I wasn't yet using like a very high quality lossless codecs. I was doing everything in like MP4. And only the specific shots that I despecialized, I was exporting in higher quality, but none of the sources that I was using were like super big. But today, uh, scan of one reel of 35 millimeter film in 4K is like 200 gigabytes or something.
Yeah.
So you couldn't even fit one whole movie on a 1 terabyte hard drive
Hmm.
in that quality.
So so I got in contact with you, and you were like, "Yeah, great, that'd be great if I could do that." And so then came the process of you telling me exactly what you needed, and I went and got it. Then came the headache of trying to get it to you. I was
Yeah,
like, I had to fill out all this paperwork, and it was crazy. I mean, it was,
yeah.
and I think, and now I might be mistaken, but I think me mailing it to you probably cost more than the product itself. I think it was. I think it was because I remember like, wow, this was a pain in the butt. But anyway, it was worth it. It was worth it. And so well, it came to you, but you had to wait. Tell me about that.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like it was very complicated with the whole customs and
Yeah.
taxes and all that. So yeah, I was eagerly anticipating this hard drive so I could resume working on the specialized because I didn't have the space to actually do any work. Uh, and instead of a hard drive, I got a letter from the customs office, which back then was in a totally different city than where I lived. So I had to do everything by mail. So there was like I had to send them a letter, then they would send me a letter back, and it took like another 2 weeks to get this whole thing sorted.
Yeah.
And I had to pay some customs tax and VAT tax, and so
I
I
remember
still had
you.
to pay some extra money anyway.
Uh,
You know,
I remember you messaging me back saying you were really pissed. You were really inflamed over the whole situation.
yeah, yeah. I know that you obviously you did everything right, but the yeah this whole I that's why I hate like even sometimes people offer to send me something from the US. I usually refuse because I can't be bothered to go
Yeah.
through like collectibles
Oh,
VHS
that
stuff.
actually reminded me. I forgot. I actually sent you some figures a couple
Yeah,
years back. I forgot about that. Yeah.
and it of course depends on the nature of the thing that's being sent. If it's something small that can be in an envelope, it gets passed
Yeah.
as a letter, or it usually doesn't get stopped at customs. But when it's
Hmm.
something bigger or more expensive, then it's always a problem.
Yeah. So so you got the hard drive,
you know
and I want to make it very clear, you never asked for anything at all. I was willing to do everything I could to
yeah,
to to make the product better, you know.
I'm still to this day very grateful because it really you really enabled me to make that first version or second or whatever it was back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the thing I wanted to mention too, and I don't know if people on Facebook use this anymore, but when we were talking, this is before I saw your face.
Mm.
We would talk back and forth, and I would look at this little box over in the bottom right hand. So we would talk like that, and I had never seen your face. You know,
Right.
I
Yeah.
had never seen your face. And then I had gotten these points through Best Buy. And so I had this free money. Well, it wasn't technically money, but it was like points. So
Yeah.
I got me a webcam,
Right.
and so I got with you and we hooked up. And do you ever remember any in like one of the Star Trek movies, maybe Star Trek 4, where you had the big image of the Klingon on the screen,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know? Well, that was kind of like seeing you. I remember your face came up and you was like this. I was like, wow. It was funny to me, but it was funny to me. And so at that first meeting that we actually saw each other, I don't know if you remember this, but we couldn't actually talk because my wife was asleep. So we
Oh,
had to kind of like we had to like message you like
really? I don't.
still type.
I forgot
You don't
that.
remember that?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. And one more thing I wanted to mention too was when we started just talking less and less about Star Wars, um, which we talked about everything to death.
Yeah.
But one of the big things that I was interested in, because it goes back to the 70s with Star Wars, even though it's not related to Star Wars,
Mm.
but at the same time there was a fad going on. There was a big van craze, you know, vans and stuff back then. But there was also RC planes.
Mm.
You So I was like, that was a big thing back in the 70s. And I used to get these little catalogs and I'd look at these remote control gasoline airplanes and stuff. And I always like wanted to have one.
Yeah.
And my dad did get me one, but I couldn't play with it. I mean, I couldn't use it. I was too young. So when
Yeah.
I started seeing pictures on Facebook of it was your uncle, correct?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was your uncle, and you was telling me all about it, and I was like, oh, I want to just, I was just all in envy because I just would love seeing that,
No. Yeah.
And so we started talking about that, and you was telling me about landing, like he didn't trust you to land a plane. Is that true? I mean,
Yeah. No,
is that
yeah.
how that went?
Yeah, definitely. We started off talking about Star Wars and Despecialized, and then we just started. I remember like we don't call each other that often anymore, but still we talk like every once every couple of months or something.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, we talked all the time, and it was really fun because uh, at the time, I had the forum, but I never. I always preferred talking, well, as much as face to face as possible, as this as much as video calls can be called face to face. So I
Yeah.
always preferred that to texting or typing on a forum. So
Mhm.
back then, like none of my friends were really into Star Wars. Like my
Yeah.
real,
Yeah.
friends that I met with face to face. So I really fell in love with that original trilogy.com forum where I could
Mhm.
discuss all my Star Wars interests, and this was like one step better because I could talk to someone about Star Wars, eh, verbally, not typing. I always preferred that. So we first started talking about Star Wars, but soon like you said, we would start talking about other stuff and other interests and movies and all that.
Yeah. And you were teaching, and at the time, again, going back to originaltrilogy.com and learning about, now see, you were stepping outside the box at the time. You wasn't like trying to make a laser disc transfer and make it as good as you could. You were, taking different sources
Yeah,
and all that. But back then, I was trying to learn the lingo of what DNR was, with all these different, terms, because I was
yeah,
reading stuff, I didn't know what I was reading. But slowly I started picking up on digital noise reduction,
right.
um, artifacts. And I'm like, sometimes people would say things. I'm like, what are they talking about? I'm like, what are they talking? So I had to it took me a little while to kind of get going with that.
Yeah.
And it's like, to this day, I've got friends and family that say to me all the time, I've heard it many times, I don't see the difference between Blu-ray and DVD. And I said, well, you got to have the setup. If you're watching on a little small TV, you're not going to notice the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Was this
But
around the time when you bought your first bigger TV?
Actually, I've only bought a big TV recently.
Really?
When I say recently, I mean, 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half
All right.
ago. And it was very smart on my part because I have a friend, um, again, going back some years. This is maybe around the time I met you. Again, having that Japanese collection Star Wars V8 transfer. I was going to a friend of mine's house who had gotten a TV, a brand new TV. It was 50-inch.
Right.
But it wasn't high def at the time. It was just a big screen TV.
Yeah.
And so this is around 2006. This is around that time. So I said to myself, well, gee, I could get a TV, or I can buy a studio scale Millennium Falcon for $2,800.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I chose the Falcon.
Yeah.
So I chose the Falcon, and which was really smart on so many levels. But what I didn't count on, I said, eventually I'll get the TV. But technology kept getting better and better and better. And then the cost kept coming down, So, like, for instance, I know a guy, and this is going to sound really crazy. I know a guy who got one of these big, I don't know if you ever seen these big old TVs way before that you have to roll them. Like, they're huge. They're big screen TVs, but they're very predecessor to the ones today.
Right.
So anyway, he got this TV through the power company.
Right.
And it wasn't cheap either. And here's the kicker. He's still paying on that TV today, and it's way outdated. He probably don't even have it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's still paying on it today.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah, it's bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely wouldn't like borrow money to buy something that expires this quickly. It's like even cars last longer than than TVs nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Like there was a time, like when you remember, like in the 70s, you bought a TV, you had it for 20 years, and when you bought a new one, it was the same one. It was basically the same as the one you had.
Yeah, yeah. And there was like, if I'm not mistaken, you talk going that far back, I think there was like the 13-inch TV and the 19-inch TV, and that 19-inch was like luxury TV,
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, like my grandparents had a TV that was like 30 years old, and the picture quality was exactly the same as the one that we had in our living room that was brand new.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
The development has become so much faster in this, but they, at the same time, the TVs have become way cheaper. Also, like you can still buy crazy expensive TVs, but I, like my dad told me, yeah, they had that TV, like my grandparents had that TV for 25, 30 years, but they paid the exact same amount of money that we paid for our TV then.
Yeah.
But that same amount of money was like 10 times more 30 years ago. So they paid like what they made in a year for that TV.
Yeah. Well, let me say this about my TV, that it was a plus that I didn't realize at the time. I didn't know. I mean, when it comes to technology, it's moving so fast, so quick,
Mm.
I can't seem to keep up. I'm kind of always a bit behind on it.
Yeah.
Um, so I didn't have it. I think my first TV might have been around, my first very own TV in my
Mm.
house was probably two 1999.
Mm.
Just a standard TV, and we had it till it went out, and then I recently got the TV I have now, 65
Yeah.
inch, and so I was excited. I was excited about it, and so I texted a picture to my cousin Bill, and he says, "Oh, you got a smart TV," and I'm like, "Well, what does that mean? I mean, what, what is a, I mean, what is that?" Because the only reason I bought it was to play my Blu-rays and
Yeah.
DVD. That's it. I
Yeah.
didn't. I don't care for cable. I don't care for new television. I mean, I don't care for new TV shows. I don't watch that stuff. I don't watch like regular TV.
Yeah.
Like, so he says you have a smart TV, and I said, well, what necessarily does that? What does that mean, smart? Is it got a high IQ? I didn't know. But anyway, I learned about the apps and all that, and to my surprise, I watch more stuff on apps
Mm.
than I do playing my Blu-rays and stuff and
Yeah.
DVDs.
Do you have Netflix?
Yeah, but it's through a family member. It's through a family
Yeah.
member.
Yeah.
They
But yeah,
don't account.
that's
But
that's very usual. Like my entire family is using my Netflix account.
yeah,
they're all
yeah. But
mooching of
it's
the
not
tip of Peter.
probably not gonna have it too much longer. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, but because and this is something that we didn't mention. You're also a big fan of Star Trek, uh,
yes, yes.
and at least do they have all the old Star Trek shows on Netflix in the U.S.?
Now, to my knowledge, I think so.
Yeah,
Now, I'm not 100% sure on that,
yeah,
but I do think so. Obviously, I've seen the original series.
yeah,
I've bought it on DVD and Blu-ray,
yeah, yeah.
and the Next Generation, I bought. Well, I'm gonna get to the Netflix thing, but I don't know if you remember this, but the Next Generation came out with these big silver boxes, season per season. Do
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
So they were like, when they first came out, they're like super expensive, like
Yeah,
200,
yeah,
very expensive. So one day I'm at work, and I work at Walmart, and I see them for like $50, and I'm like, holy. So now back then that was the deal.
yeah,
You talking about going from like 200.
yeah.
I don't know how the companies, but somehow the companies managed to get the season sets down.
Mm.
So I start buying them, so I'm looking at the picture quality, and it sucks so bad. The picture quality was horrible.
And this was
But
DVD.
it was but huh?
This was DVD.
This is standard DVD.
Yeah,
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 standard
yeah,
standard DVD. The picture quality was DNR to death, and it was from a video.
yeah. They probably
uh
just used the old analog masters or whatever
yeah,
they had for VHS. Yeah.
and the special features were horrible. I was
Mm.
like, man, I couldn't imagine paying that kind of money, like $200 for this
Mm.
one season now. But but for $50, it was justifiable. I was like, $50, it's okay.
Yeah.
So fast forward, the next thing I know, they're putting out the Next Generation on Blu-ray,
Yeah.
restored,
Yeah.
restored, and that picture quality was amazing. And I
Mm.
was like, oh my god, this looks great.
Yeah.
But I'm getting sidetracked. But yes, I do think they are on Netflix. I think they're all on Netflix.
Yeah, that's
Netflix.
because here they are too, and we never got the Blu-ray release of the Next Generation, so I've been watching some Next Generation episodes on Netflix.
Oh,
Yeah.
so you didn't get that over in the Czech Republic? I thought you had gotten this box set of
Oh,
the original Star Trek series.
oh yeah, yeah. I have a box set of the original Star Trek series, but I had to order that from the UK. They didn't release it here, and
Oh
we
yeah.
also never got a release of the Next Generation. But what I love about that original series box set is that
Mhm.
you can choose whether you want to watch with the new updated effects or whether you want to
Oh
watch
yeah.
with the old original effects. That's
same
what
with
we all
mine.
want for Star Wars.
Yeah, yeah, same with mine. And the funny thing about that was, and it sucked really. So I eventually got the what you're talking about, the Blu-ray that you can watch either version.
Hmm.
Well, the Blu-ray player I had at the time was like one of the first, not the first, but one of the very first
Yeah.
Blu-ray players to come out. And so you had to constantly update the firmware. I don't know if they do that now. I imagine they probably still do update firmware and stuff.
Yeah.
But when I would play Star Trek in there,
Hmm.
it would have a number at the top that says change, and then it'd be a different scene. And it just always had that number up at the top. And I'm like,
Right.
what's so I kept looking at my remote trying to figure out how to get rid of this number.
Yeah.
And there was nothing I could do about it.
Yeah.
So
Then.
I took it to my sister's, and so I put it in her Blu-ray player, which was fairly new at the time,
Hmm.
and that number wasn't even there. It was just not there. And so I've since then I've done it with my new player, and it's not even there. But that first generation Blu-ray player,
Yeah.
but I wanted to share this other story with you real quick
Yeah.
because I was honestly I was a little disappointed
Hmm.
because you found it funny, and I was hoping you'd hate it, but you laughed about it. And that was one day we were talking about bad movies, like movies that were just horribly bad. And so you named off a movie to me or something, and
Hmm.
I said to you, and I said, man, one of the worst movies you could ever watch is Batman and Robin.
Ah.
It is completely horrible. I mean, there's no saving grace in it. It's just
Yeah.
bad. And so you watched it and you enjoyed it. And you told me the reason why you enjoyed it because you went in knowing it was going to be bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about that. Share that little bit of that.
Yeah, I remember. I haven't actually having heard so much how bad it was. I never watched it.
Uh huh.
Uh, but then you said it was like super terrible, but I should watch it, so I did. And yeah, I thought it was funny, and that's the thing with there are these movies that are just so bad they're good, like The Room. It's like.
Yeah.
I thought this was one of them. It was it was so cheesy, but I found it funny. But I can totally understand how, like after the Tim Burton movies, like when you went to the theater expecting the same thing, then you'd be
Yeah.
really disappointed. But
Yeah.
although,
Yeah.
like I rewatched the Tim Burton films recently, and they're pretty cheesy too. Like
Yeah.
from today's point of view, it's like, but
Yeah.
they're cheese like good cheesy. This
Yeah.
was like, speaking of bad films, what I wanted to talk about, and just to show people that two Star Wars fans can disagree and about the sequel trilogy and still be friends. We don't have to tear each other's heads off because we disagree. So so what are your feelings about the sequel trilogy?
Do you really want to go there, man? Do you really want to go there?
Hmm. Yeah.
The sequel trilogy, I hate it with a passion. I hate it so much. But let me say this. There's another YouTuber that I'm friends with is Star Wars Obsessed, Richard. I don't know.
Hmm.
Have you ever heard of Star Wars Obsessed?
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, well, anyway, we've talked a little bit about that, but again, we agree to disagree. You
Hmm.
know, we agree to disagree. But the Force Awakens, I did not go to the theater to see because obviously any Star Wars fan that knows anything knows that Harrison Ford hates Han Solo and wanted him to die.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I heard Episode 7 and Harrison Ford was coming back, I said Han Solo's a dead man. And and so growing up with Star Wars and loving it like I do, and loving the characters like I do, I just didn't want to see that.
Yeah.
I just did not want to see it. And so for that for that, there was many reasons why I didn't go. That's just one of them. Okay. Um, uh, boy, man, you really opened up a can of worms.
Yeah,
But
just
anyway,
to set up like where we disagree, like I don't love the sequel trilogy, but I don't hate it with a passion. I just think
I
they're
hate
pretty
it with a passion.
mediocre, you know.
Yeah, and they're forgettable. I know that. I've seen Last Jedi once,
Hmm.
and that's it. But anyway, so The Force Awakens. Now I'm going to say something about The Force Awakens. I don't think The Force Awakens is a horrible movie. I don't think it's terribly bad.
Hmm.
I think that there is a lot of stuff in there that is good. I think there's a lot of stuff that's never been done before. For instance,
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, like seeing TIE fighters in an atmosphere, like on a planet, like,
Hmm.
flying around in an atmosphere,
Hmm.
chasing the Falcon or chasing anything,
Yeah.
or the X-wings, uh, going down a river or an ocean, and there was a lot of stuff in there that I thought was good. I thought BB-8 was fantastic.
Hmm.
Um, so but I didn't like them killing Han Solo, and I
Hmm.
didn't, and I'm not so much now. We've talked a lot about this. I wasn't so much against them doing that because obviously everybody dies.
Hmm.
I just didn't like the way they did it.
Hmm.
I just thought that that could have been done better, or
Yeah.
because he's such a hero, he would he would not only die for the greater good, he
Hmm.
would take a lot of people out
Yeah.
at the same time. You know,
Yeah.
so so
I,
again,
I'm actually, and you would, and I think we talked about this, and you will probably disagree. I'm actually in the camp of like Harrison Ford was right, and Han Solo should have died in Return of the Jedi. Like
well,
that,
I
there
mean,
he had a perfect opportunity for a heroic sacrifice, and I think like he should have been in the position of Lando in that film and actually died, you know, destroying the Death Star. That would have been
yeah.
a
Well,
fitting
I'm
end
really glad
to.
they didn't do that because if had they had done that, I wouldn't have what I have today. I
Mm,
would have I would have checked out right then and there on the
yeah,
spot.
yeah,
Uh, but they didn't do that, and I get why. I mean, because you want some emotional impact, you want, you got all these heroes, none of them have died and all that, and it's a war. I
mm,
get it, okay, but I could have. I mean, you could have walked out of that theater, and I would have never looked back. I would have
yeah,
never looked back. And I say Luke back. So anyway, I didn't think it was a bad movie, and I was interested at when I saw it. I was like, okay, where are they gonna go with this? But that
mm,
was it. I didn't like dwell on it or nothing like that.
yeah,
Um, so then here comes the Last Jedi, and I'm asking myself, gee, I wonder what they're gonna do. Like, I know Luke ain't gonna want to do nothing at first. Then he'll change his mind, and he'll be like Yoda, like, want to do help out and all. But I didn't think it was gonna be what it became.
mm,
Uh, so I went to go see Last Jedi very quickly because there are some people I know are going to spoil it immediately. Like as
mm,
soon as it hits, it's like today you can't enjoy nothing because the internet's going to have everything out there. It's
yep,
just you can't enjoy nothing anymore
yep,
without it being pre-spoiled. So I said to myself, you know what? They've killed Han Solo. He's gone. Let's let's just go forward and let's just see if it's good.
yeah,
Maybe this will turn out and really be good. You know.
yeah,
So I went in there and I watched this movie. And as I'm watching, I'm like, okay, when's this go? Okay, all right, let's keep going in here. When's it gonna? First thing, okay, I knew I was in trouble the moment I started hearing mama jokes. You know, I was like, that's not Star Wars. I mean, really, it's not Star Wars because I mean, let me say one thing. I've got many, many books. I got hundreds of books. I got hundreds of magazines. And I've read a lot of this stuff, especially Ivan Kershner, a lot of his talks and stuff. And he would say a lot of things about how Star Wars should be done. And one of the things he said was he did not want jokes. He didn't want, like, you know what I'm saying? He didn't want like jokes in the movie. It
Yeah.
could be a funny situation. It could be some comedy, but not a joke.
Yeah.
I'll give you a perfect example of this. When I was a kid and I saw The Empire Strikes Back, Leia says, Han, let go of me. And Leia says, being held by you is not going to get me excited. And then Han stands up and says, sorry, sweetheart, we ain't got time for anything else. Okay, that's a sexual joke.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I didn't get it. I'd be in the audience, and I hear people laugh, and I'm like, what's so funny? You know what I mean? I'm like, what's funny?
Yeah.
But I was a kid and I didn't understand what the joke was. That's the type of humor you have in there. But all of a sudden, now we got mama jokes in Star Wars. You agree?
Yeah, it was a like I didn't mind it that much because I just like to me Star Wars isn't that sacred. Like the original is sacred to me, but the franchise isn't. Like I think it was already spoiled by the prequels and
Yeah.
so to me like it's just another movie. Like I don't see it as some sacred cow that's like
But see,
so I agree it was those jokes were out of place in a Star Wars movie, but I just didn't care that much.
yeah. So anyway, I saw this movie, and I just it just there was like, unlike Force Awakens, to me, there was nothing to like. There was I walked out of the theater and I
Yeah.
said, I don't even care. I mean, I literally don't care. And to this day, as of this recording, I have yet to see Rise of Skywalker.
Hmm.
I ain't seen it, and I don't care to see it. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally understand. Like I must say I didn't like uh the Last Jedi I thought was okay. It had some serious problems, but you know to me like it's not I'm not that emotional about it. So the fact that like what they did with Luke, I didn't take it personally because I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, but and I actually thought it was sort of an interesting direction to take him. I thought the execution could have been better, uh, but the Rise of Skywalker was horrible. So I remember like even telling you not to watch it if you the
Yeah.
way you hated Last Jedi so much. Like yeah.
No, no. And like again, like I said, there are many, many, many reasons why I don't care for the Disney Star Wars. Now, and I'm going to go into this a little bit. The expanded universe. Now, being a long time, well, I say a long time, being a lifelong Star Wars fan, you had the movies and then you had the books and comics and all this. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of debate and a lot of argument, but at that time, it was canon. It was. Uh, and I could go into a lot of stories about that, but it was canon. And so when they decided to when Disney bought Star Wars, they said, "Oh, by the way, none of that matters. It's not canon, and forget it." And I really felt betrayed. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you? I mean, you're just gonna take 35 years of material and source material, and you're gonna say it don't mean nothing."
Mm.
So right then and there, I was like, "Okay, done." But
Yes.
here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to tell people. Keep in mind, if you like the sequel trilogy, hey, great. That doesn't mean I have to.
Yeah.
And to me,
Yeah.
I go back to the Star Wars I grew up on, which is the original trilogy, the Ewok movies, the comic books, the novels. As much as I didn't like
Yeah.
them killing Chewbacca off in the New Jedi Order series, I still accepted it because George Lucas had his hands in all that.
Mm.
He had his hands in all of that. He may not he may not say this is my Star Wars or what I would have done, but trust me, he signed off on all of that. Do you think for a second he would have signed off on The Last Jedi and Force Awakens? No, not even close.
Yeah.
But
Probably not.
he saw, but and that's another thing too. I never in a million years think he would sell it. I just didn't think that would happen. Because see, I trusted the man. I trusted what he said. He said that the features are the 6 movies, and he said, "Look, I'm not saying there won't be more movies in the future, but it's not going to be dealing with those characters. That story is written and told. It's done. We could go and like the Knights of the Republic. He said all this. We go into Knights of the Republic, or we
Yeah.
go into some standalone stuff, but that story's told.
Mm.
And if, frankly, if it was up, if what Disney really should have done was just go in a different direction and not and
Yeah.
left that alone, because they had great success with Mandalorian, and and Rebels was good.
Mm.
They just had a lot of, and Solo was good.
Yeah. I
I
liked it too. Yeah.
Even though I hate Disney Star Wars, I had to go see Solo because Han's my favorite character,
Mm.
and I want to support that movie. And my whole time, the whole time about that movie was, I'm like, please don't make the character an idiot. Don't please Harrison Ford and make that character an idiot, because the character is not an idiot.
Yeah.
He's very smart. Is he reckless? Yeah, he's reckless at times.
Yeah.
But if Princess Leia can say, "Look, you're a great leader. You're a natural
Yeah.
leader. Stay with us," that's saying volumes.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to go back to what you said about the expanded universe and how they said it was no longer canon. And to me, like I understand your position, but to me it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah,
so they say it's not canon.
yeah,
Why would I? Why should I care? Like
yeah,
to me it's canon when I'm reading it. Like
yeah.
you know, and
Here's the
and
thing.
and I totally 100% agree with what you said. Like, uh, if you like the new Star Wars, great.
Yeah,
If you don't like it, great. Like, and then, but why do we have to force our
uh,
opinions on each other like that? We can have different
yeah.
opinions and still be civil and
And
be friends.
yeah. And you know something? Here's the thing people have to remember. I don't normally cuss, but I'm
Mm.
going to make an exception. People, Star Wars is all bullshit. It's all made up.
Exactly.
None of it's real. None
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
George Lucas said himself, it's all fake. So enjoy what you want to enjoy.
Yeah.
That
And that's
simple.
that's exactly what I always say when people are arguing about canon, as if like this is real and this is not. I'm like, none of it's real. So like
Yeah.
you can decide what's real for you, like or what you
Yeah.
think what you want to be real.
Yeah, I want to say one of the reasons why I do say it's canon. I want to just say a little bit more about this, and we'll
Mm,
move on.
yeah.
But some years ago, but maybe around 2009, I got started watching Star Trek Enterprise. I was watching Star Trek Enterprise,
Yeah.
and I was enjoying it. I was loving it, man. And but then at the end, and I'm going to say spoiler alert. So I'm going to say this: if you've not seen Star Trek Enterprise and you don't want to be spoiled at the end, stop now. One, two, three, four, five. One of the major character dies, and I was very upset. I was like, why did they do that? I mean, there was no. I just like why, you know. So I started going on. I started doing some research about the novels, and in the novels, the Star Trek novels, they bring this character back, and they gave a really good reason. I mean, like, wow, that is interesting way to bring this character back. He never died in the first place. It was all just a story they put into the program because he went on a top secret mission.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, I go into all these Star Trek forums, and I'm talking about the novels. Are they canon? Are they not canon? That kind of thing. And I mean, everybody was saying the Star Trek novels are not canon. They never were. They're just stories. Then they would compare it to Star Wars, and they would say all the Star Wars novels are canon. And then they would go down this list of people who claimed that Star Wars novels, the novels and the comics were canon. And so I remember around 1999, the Victor Prime series, not Victor Prime series, the New Jedi Order series came out, and they killed Chewbacca, and it was a big deal. Okay, now I'm going to end this real quick, but anyway, one of the big time Star Wars celebrities named Steven Sansweet, you ever heard of him?
Yep.
Well, he was talking about, yeah, they killed Chewbacca. Yes, this is canon. He was saying all this stuff. He was talking about how it is canon. Yes, he died. Too bad, whatever. You know, then you fast forward to 2013 or 14. Now everybody's singing a different tune. Everybody's singing a different tune. It's kind of this is what it kind of reminds me of.
Yeah, no, but that's a great story because it really sheds light on why it's so important to some people, because they were there back then and they experienced the emotions around one of their favorite characters dying, and suddenly like, yeah, I can see how that could affect some people. Yeah.
And I will say this: Disney now is like treating the expanded universe with a little more respect. They are treating it with a little more respect lately. Yeah. And so, but anyway, that's all up to the individual about that. So my Star Wars is the expanded universe, and obviously the first 6 films.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna have to finish soon, but so the last thing I wanted to talk about was our Star Wars collections, like I said at the beginning. So obviously, as people can see behind you, and this is only a tiny portion of your collection, you're a big Star Wars collector, and I asked you before we did this if we could each do like show our 5 favorite pieces in our collections.
Yeah, 5 favorite pieces. That's tough.
So as I'm sitting here editing this interview, I realized we actually kept going for 2 hours. So I'm actually gonna split it in half right here, and I will post part 2 sometime later. Well, I hope you enjoyed part 1. And if you want to support this channel, you can do so by becoming a patron or donating directly to my PayPal. I really appreciate all the help. Thank you guys very much. Also, don't forget to subscribe and check out some of my other videos. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, and may the Schwartz be with you.